Welcome to Just Break Up, the podcast about love, heartbreak, and all the relationship advice you don't want to hear. My name is Sierra DeMulder.
And I'm Sam Blackwell. And today we're going to answer a letter from somebody who's dealing with social anxiety with her partner's friends. But before we begin, we just want to give you our we want to give you our own social anxiety, which is that Sierra and I are not licensed mental health practitioners and don't want any of you to think otherwise.
That's so true. Yeah, we are not professionals. We are not trained in it. We don't have any, degrees in relationship help and or therapy. So please take our advice as you see fit. Consider this a supplement to your own professional mental health resources. We are only here to offer our humble musings to hopefully shed some understanding and maybe some laughs about the incredibly rewarding but mostly confusing experience that is love.
All right, let's get into today's letter. So today's letter comes from Clumsy Interloper, whose pronouns are she, her, who is writing from the bathroom during a social event, which is a place that I have been many times, so deeply relate. Hello, dear Sam and Sierra. I am writing in feeling very overwhelmed by a weekend of social events with my new partner. We've been dating for 6 months now, and things are really great so far. For background, I am living in a different state than where I grew up. I don't have much of a social network here, especially since I got out of a toxic relationship a couple years ago where my ex was basically my entire support system. It's felt like rebuilding from scratch since that breakup happened. I have several acquaintance-y friends, but I lack a close-knit group of friends like the one I had in high school. My partner, however, has a seemingly never-ending supply of close friends, including a super close friend group that meets up as often as a couple times a week. He and his friends are from the same city and have been friends since childhood. I've been invited to tag along to some events, which has been great, but I feel so overwhelmed and insecure. For starters, I am a stone-cold introvert who is usually running low on social battery. This makes chatting with strangers super hard, plus the pressure of wanting these people to like me and approve of me makes things even harder. I worried that when I'm tired and low on social energy, people perceive me as cold and unfriendly. But in reality, I'm like a bug that's more scared of everyone else than they are of me. Everyone's been nice to me so far, but I can't help but wonder if they think I'm a bad fit for my partner or if they straight up don't like me. Making sure I fit in feels high stakes because of how close they are. In my mind, if they don't like me, the relationship is surely doomed, The second part of this is the insecurity around not having many close friends in my newish city. I worry that I seem like a loner who's incapable of having close friends. Deep down, I know that I've been putting in a lot of work to connect and grow new friendships, and that developing friendships takes a lot of time and effort. But dang, it's hard to avoid comparing our two very different social situations sometimes. And it does make me worry about the future of our relationship sometimes. Like, is my partner evaluating my performance during these events? I tell him how intimidated I feel, and he's understanding, but I worry he will grow tired of how shy I am during these big group events. Any advice on how to navigate the clumsiness of integrating into a new scary friend group would be so appreciated. Thank you both, XOXO.
All right, my darling, thank you so much for writing and trusting us with this letter. This is very relatable to me personally. I don't call myself a stone cold introvert, but I'm a lot more introverted than I appear on this podcast. Because if you think about it, I'm really just talking to Sam.
Yeah, absolutely. This is
I'm really just talking to one person that I've known for like 15 years.
This is like the perfect situation for two introverts. It's like, we just talk to each other and like people on the periphery listen.
Yeah. Oh my God, I love it. Anyway, so I know that Sam and I appear more extroverted than we are, but I really relate to this letter, especially being the more socially anxious partner and the new partner in an area. So I've got some, if not advice, just general like commiseration and musings. And I know that Sam has a really beautiful perspective shift that we hope will help. But first, we're going to take a very quick break.
All right, everyone, welcome back. Clumsy Interloper, thank you for writing to us. And yes, I really feel for you in this moment. I am also an introvert, and big groups of people even if I know every single person in that group are still like intimidating for me. And I am with you that like it is really hard to find a way to make inroads with people. And I totally understand this like constant sort of like checking in with how successful you're being at making friends, at making sure that they like you, at making sure that you're
assessing afterwards, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Like grading your performance afterwards. Oh my God, that is my worst probably behavior. Is like I overthink.
Oh, for sure.
How I acted.
Come home and then you like think through every conversation that you had and you're like, was that an okay thing to say? Or did I sound like an idiot? Like what?
Yes.
They made a face when I said that. Does that mean that they hate me? Like all of those things.
Did I overshare? Did I overtalk? Did I talk too loud? Did I not talk enough? Did I seem unfriendly? Yeah.
Absolutely. Does everyone think that I'm an asshole because I didn't want to talk to anyone, even though I did want to talk to them? I just didn't know how to, right? Like 100% relate to that piece of it. And like integrating into a new friend group who are like all close and know each other is so intimidating. Like it, there's a bunch of inside jokes and shorthand and all of the different things that exist in communities where folks know each other and spend a lot of time with each other. And I think it's really great that your partner has I think it's really great that your partner has a network of support and people that he likes to hang out with. And my hope is that like that opens up for you as well, because you also deserve to have friends and people that you can talk to and rely on and spend time with, because I think that that's really important.
Yeah, I just want to say, articulate that it's not just introversion and extroversion that's at play here. I think the letter writer used this phrase, or else just made me think about it, like the social battery, right? I think that is so real too, because again, I think that our partners can have different social batteries, social capacities than we do, in addition to like need to socialize. And I really relate to the idea of feeling tapped out and being afraid of how they perceive you. We have like identical friend dynamics in our relationships. My partner has lived in the area for a very long time, has 1 million acquaintances, 300 good friends, and like 5 best friends. Do you know what I mean? I'm being hyperbolic, but like not that hyperbolic, if you know what I mean. And I moved to the area like 4.5 years ago, and damn, it's hard to like make friends. I made like 4 friends in the last 4.5 years. I'm averaging 1 friend a year. If you think about it that way.
Yeah.
So, but I'm trying to remind myself that a couple things. I think the disparity between my wife and I's relationships and like her ease of friendship and my anxiety of friendship, it makes me feel like there's a right and wrong way and that I'm doing it wrong. And that there's something about me and my personality that people don't like, or that I made the wrong choices in life that led to having very few, friendships. But here's an opportunity for me to say to both of us, like, that is a lie that my anxiety is telling me. It's a lie, and it's a simplification of a hugely diverse human experience that is experienced differently by each person. There's no right or wrong way to be in the universe as a person. I think we have this idea that like the extroverts are the best and people who get along with lots of people are those most valuable people in the society. But like that is like all serial killers are like super extroverted. Do you know what I mean? Just kidding. But not, you know what I mean?
Sure.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that has helped my introversion, especially in the like socializing with new people, is kind of this recognition that I have to remind myself a lot, is that like people generally want to like me, right? Like, and I want to recognize too that like I am in a white person's body. I'm in a body that reads as a man. And so like, I am like received and given the benefit of the doubt in ways that like people in bodies that aren't white or don't present as men, like may not be given the benefit of the doubt. And my experience is that like people are generally not going out of their way to dislike me, right? They're not looking for reasons to not like me. And I think that this is true as somebody who's like part of a really close-knit friend group where people are, you know, sometimes bring in new partners into the group, is that like generally we want to like the person because we want to integrate them into the friend group as easily as possible, right? Like if this person's going to continue to be in our life, like we're going to be looking for reasons to be nice to them and to want to get to know them. And sort of shifting my perspective on that made it much easier for me to be able to kind of go into like these types of socializing, like these sort of like party conversations or like meeting people for the first time with like just a different perspective and understanding of it, to say like, I'm not trying to like win an impossible battle with these people, right? Like I'm not trying to like convince them out of like a point of view that they think that I'm terrible and stupid and hate me already, right? There's no like particular like list that I have to jump or like steps that I have to go through in order to like finally win them over to my side. Like in general, people are like fine to like pleasant about the idea of me interacting with them. like it takes so much work to dislike people. Absolutely. That's like, why would that be their go-to? Why would that be the first thing that they would want to perceive about me? And why? And also like, they're not even thinking about me that much, right? Like they're not going home and being like, okay, so what were all the things that Sam said to me and which of them were stupid and which of them were smart, right? Like, no, they're not thinking about me in any way. I mean, hopefully they're thinking about me, but they're thinking about like, oh, that was a fun conversation I had with them. Or like, I'm really intrigued by what happened there. Like they're not spending all the same amount of time thinking about me as I am thinking about every interaction that I've had with them. And like challenging some of that and sort of like reframing that perspective has actually been really helpful for me to like care less, which has made it easier for me to just kind of like be with people. So if I'm quiet, I'm just quiet. Like, I don't think that they're thinking anything terrible about me. They're just like thinking that I'm quiet. And like that, it has been liberating because then it makes me be like, okay, well, if I need to recharge, I don't have to be on for them, or I don't need to talk to every single person in the room in order for them to like remember me or like me, right? There's so many different ways that I can be, and people will generally just give me the benefit of the doubt, because my experience is that generally most people do, because we like want to like each other.
Yeah, people want to like you, letter writer. You are easily likable, as much as your anxiety lies to you and tells you that that's not true. This situation, like this letter, genuinely made me think about like those things in life that you're trying to like, you know, those thought patterns that only get worse. They feel like they only get worse the more you pay attention to them, you know, like all of a sudden, like I know that I think it snowballs when I think about my partner's friendships and her ease of friendships, and how lonely I feel sometimes, and how bad at friendships I feel, and how anxious I feel about social interactions, and how I think about them before, during, and afterwards. You know, It almost, the anxiety sometimes snowballs, because it's one of those things where you're like, okay, I really want friendships, but oh my God, like friendships are so hard. And like, what if they don't like me? Oh my God, I was so awkward. Don't be awkward. Like, do you remember the last time you saw them and you said that thing and then they made that face? Like, oh my God, they definitely hate you. And you have to see them again today, but you really want friendships. So you got to put yourself out there. But like, the last time you put yourself out there, it went really poorly. Oh my God, what are you going to say? Like, and it just snowballs so much. Like, we're so in our heads sometimes that anxiety can just like eat us alive. And this is not a clinical piece of advice. Like, this is not like a good sound piece of advice, but like, is there any way that you can try to like turn your brain off for a little bit? And like the therapy version of that is, for me, is like doing little CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy exercises where I say, like, where I take my thoughts, stop them, interrupt them, and then like assess them. Like, am I jumping to conclusions? Do I have all or nothing thinking? Am I catastrophizing this? Like jumping to conclusions. An example of that for me would be you saying your partner's judging you for being bad at friendships. Like, have they ever said that? Like, have they ever given you the inclination that they believe that? Would they ever judge you? Like, they love you for a million reasons, and how you show up in friendships might be one of it, but you don't know because you're just jumping to those conclusions. Catastrophizing is saying like, oh my God, this this awkward thing I said means that they don't like me. They're judging my partner for dating me, and they're talking about me behind my back. Like, it went so poorly that I am a bad friend. Or even like all or nothing thinking is saying I had an awkward situation, or I don't have many friends, and therefore I am bad at friendships, right? I'm undeserving of friendships. So like, it's not that you should stop your thinking. I don't know. That's not the right way to say it, but those anxious moments. Like, I know when my anxious attachment style is triggered, like I almost have to get out of my own head because it's just spiraling. It's just snowballing, and I'm becoming more and more anxious. Instead, if I just stop myself and say, nope, okay, just because I'm feeling it doesn't mean it's true. And just because I'm thinking it doesn't mean it's reliable. So then I go to those CBD, worksheets or questions, and I ask myself, I think I said CBD, that too, CBT worksheets or whatever, like I try to interrupt those thoughts, you know what I mean? Which again, that comment, that piece of advice is meant to go in tandem with the just general commiseration and empathy that I have, because it's hard to feel lonely and it's hard to feel socially anxious. Those things are challenging. There's no way around that. And I see you in that challenge. And there's nothing wrong with you. You're not broken. You're not a bad friend. You're not a bad or a shameful partner. You're allowed to have different relationships than your partner. You're allowed to have a different social battery than your partner. None of this is telling me anything about you that is horrendous or shameful. In fact, like, I feel very kindred with you.
For sure. Absolutely. And, you even talk about why your friend group isn't as strong as his, right? Because you were in a relationship where you were isolated from people, right? It's not that you chose this. It's not that you alienated everyone in your life because you're like some sort of horrible person or whatever. It's because you were in like a very particular situation that resulted in this. So I know that comparison feels really real, right? Of like, oh my God, look how many friends that he has and look how many I don't. And it's important to remember that you're coming at this from completely different circumstances. He wasn't in a relationship that isolated him from all of his friends. He, all of the different reasons, you're putting it into one, which is that like he's better at having friends than you are. But it's much more complicated than that. There's 999 million different reasons why your friend groups look different from each other. And none of those is because you're less worthy of friendship than he is, right? And 99% of those are absolutely 100% out of your control, or are because of a particular circumstance or whatever it might be. And we tend to want to pin everything to one thing and say, yes, it's because of this. It's because I'm unlovable. It's because I'm not good to my friends. But it's not that. It's actually 20 million times more complicated, which is both liberating in that it kind of lessens our like need to control everything, but also deeply scary because it admits how much of this stuff is actually like outside of our control. I also just I want to give one other tangible piece of advice, which is like, break things down into more bite-sized pieces, right? Like, as an introvert going into a social situation with a bunch of people I don't know or know a little bit is like so intimidating. Like, my energy gets sapped immediately because I'm like, too many conversations. I have to know so many different things that I need to figure out how to talk about with people. break it into easier chunks. Find one or two people who are part of this friend group who you may have clicked with or you're interested in, or maybe who your partner thinks you would like really hit it off with, and like go grab a beer with them or coffee or go for a walk or something where it's like easier to be able to interact with them, knowing what your brain predisposition is towards being in large groups. And like, I will tell you, like when I was trying to integrate myself into Peter's friends, this is something that I had to do, where I had to be like, I can't just like go to a party and like meet all, like talk to everyone, because I'm going to talk to my one friend because like that's the only thing that I know how to do. I had to like actually be like, hey, I hear that you're really into Scandal. Do you want to watch that with me? And like set up time to like watch it with people so that we could like interact with something that we knew that we had in common with, and also that it was like fewer people, right? It just was like, it was so much more of a setup for me as an introvert to be able to interact in a way that is more comfortable for me. So that's my encouragement for you. Like try and find the folks who you can kind of build up a one-on-one friendship so that it gets easier to be in space with lots of them.
Yeah. And they're not thinking about you the way you think they're thinking about you. That could be said of like every social situation, anxiety assessment, whatever. Like I often have to remind myself, like, not even in a vain way, but like they're not thinking about you. They don't care. They're not like analyzing your outfit or the things you say or whatever. We're not that important to people's whatever. But I know this is tricky. Sam and I love you. And we hope you feel held in this. And thanks so much for writing.
We love you. All right, everyone. It is Friday, which means that we are going to give you a blind date. This is when we try and set you up with something that we think that you're really going to like. And this week, our blind date is...
Okay, so it's a book for kids. But if you have children and you want a book that is updated and informative and inclusive and direct and also like beautiful about like how babies are made in all the million different ways that we make a family. I had this book in like my cart for years since like I became pregnant. And I finally bought it because my child has questions, you know, that 2 years, she doesn't have questions, but she's almost 2 and she's like noticing family dynamics, you know, like saying daddy, thanks Bluey, which is fine. Daddies exist. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. The book is called Making a Baby. It's called it's by Rachel Greener. And I appreciate literally every choice that the author and the illustrators made. It's basically saying that to make a baby, you need 1 egg and 1 sperm and 1 womb. But every family starts in their own special way and they all look different. And I got this book, especially because of the representation in it that babies can come from IUIs and IVF. They can come from surrogates. They can come from adoption. They also talk about C-sections. They talk about egg donors. They talk about what happens when the babies stop growing or why some babies are born early. And they are very direct about it. It's non-emotional. It's direct. It's informative. It, you know, talks about sperms and egg, and also the fact that like some bodies have sperm and some bodies have eggs, and they do a really good job handling sex and gender in a really inclusive way. I literally give it a 14 out of 10. It's the book that I want my daughter to be reading about sex and the myriad of ways that babies happen, and the multiple ways that families can look. I just love it so much. So if you've got a little one in your life, check it out.
I love it. I wish that I had that book as a child. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for listening. If you would like more content from us, or if you would like access to our our office hours, you can support us on Patreon. If you support us on Patreon for as little as $5 a month, you'll get an additional bonus weekly episode, as well as access to our office hours. That's patreon.com/justbreakuppod.
You can slide into our DMs, send us your favorite relationship meme, but most importantly, you can submit your questions about all matters of the heart at justbreakuppod.com, which is also where you can find our merchandise.
Please remember to like, follow, subscribe, give us a 5-star rating and review. This literally keeps our mics on and helps us reach more brokenhearted souls who need 2 random strangers giving them relationship advice.
Just Break Up is a production of Duvid Media, original music, recording, editing, producing, all magical things by our good friend Spencer Worth Davis. Make sure to check out his music and podcasts. And remember, there is nothing wrong with the way you show up to the world. There's no right or wrong way to be in friendship. There's no correct social battery. There's no better socializing style. We're all just figuring it out. We're all just making it work. And we all leave social situations and wonder if we did something wrong. That is like the great unifier. And if all else fails,
just break up.